Hello, computer literacy summer 2025 B-term students, and welcome to the class. I'm your instructor, Jim House, and today I just wanted to give you a $2 tour of Brightspace for the class. So hopefully getting a little lay of the land and familiar with the links and the tools therein and how you will access the content of the course, and put the rubber to the road and show you where the assignments are located in order to, start adding points to your grade book, if you will. I'm going to show you just the general layout of Brightspace, and then I will do another video that will show you how to work with the hands-on portion of the class, which will begin somewhere around week 3, where we dive into Microsoft Word, and I'll show you how this will work with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and also discuss access in terms of the training that we will be doing. And so this way, it will give you a little bit better idea of how to work with Brightspace and the Cengage software, such as MindTap. So without further ado, let's dive in here. If you've gotten this far and you're watching the video, perfect. You will see that the course home is where the, or what we call our landing page in Brightspace. You can see right here, it's the course home. I'm going to shift views a little bit to show you what it's kind of like in student view, if you will, or learner view as they call it. I should have done that before I started, but I'm going to go ahead and view as a learner so I kind of, or you kind of see what it looks like. Again, this is still be slightly different because I am an instructor, but I'm, what you see and what I see are two different things. There's some more stuff at the top of my little blue navigation bar that I reference quite frequently. So most of the items that you will work with when you jump into Brightspace is initially to go to the content. This is where everything is housed. So I'm going to go ahead and click that link, and it always seems when I record, things begin to work more slowly than they should be. So you'll notice some content over here on the side. These are called modules, and these modules can be broken down into submodules, and those submodules can be broken down even further. And so you can get what I call a 1,000-foot view, a 100-foot view, or a 10-foot view of the course. So, for example, I always recommend that students start at the Start Here module, and it basically walks you through the course, like what is expected. And what's nice is that you can see your progress as you go through the content of this module. Right now, I have gone through 10 of 10 topics. Get the little check marks to indicate that you've actually reviewed this, which is nice. In case you want to go back and see what you missed, you can do that. So a lot of this contains information about the course introduction, what this is about, an overview of the course structure, where things are located, meet your instructor, instructor time, and I'm not going to bore you with all of this. I invite you and highly recommend that you go through these links, if you will, and take a look at what each of these represent and the information they hold. The bottom that you see here is student introductions, 5 things about me. That's one of the first assignments right out of the chute this week when you start. And that is you introduce yourself to the class via the discussion board. And you write you pick 5 words that you think best describe you, and you write a little bit about them, and then respond to at least 2 or 3 other students in the class. And it's a great way to kind of meet people. I always like to see what some of the folks' interests are as they enter into the class. So that's the start here. The course schedule is just kind of gives you an overview of what the next 5 weeks look like. This class is condensed from a 15-week full-term class to what we call a B-term course. It is 5 weeks long. You are doing the equivalent of about 3.5 weeks worth of work in 1 week. Lincoln will be over. So it is your responsibility to get on this thing at least every day or every other day to keep up with the work, especially when we get into the hands-on portion of the course, which begins around week 3. So weeks 1 and 2, we are looking at general concepts about computer technology. So the impact of digital technology, the web, computer hardware, that's the first week's worth of material. The following will be information on software, applications, cybersecurity, that kind of thing. So there's some readings, but also some nice videos to watch that can, and PowerPoints that I have set up that you can, maybe bypass the reading, but also have trainings in there that will help you to prepare for the exam. Each week, there will be an exam on content. For example, the first week will wrap up chapters 1, 2, and 3. The following week will be 4, 5, and 6. We get into Microsoft Word, where it will be 3 projects and an exam on Microsoft Word. And then the 4th week will be Excel, and that will also be 3 projects and an exam. There will also be a training in Access. And the reason we're only doing trainings with Access is because more and more students are working with Apple products. Using Macs, and Microsoft had never made, and nor they probably never will, make Access for Apple. And therefore, half the students may not be able to access the exercises part of the fun. So we're just doing a training on this, and you'll see what that is when I get into the other video. But this just gives you an idea of what's going to happen week by week, and when the course ultimately ends. The last thing we'll wrap up with is PowerPoint. And so this is the course syllabus. It gives you, there is a printed version, but it gives you, again, a little bit more detail about the course, the policies therein. So a lot of the stuff that you see here about, say, general information, you can also just click on this and download what would be a printed version of an handout in class, or you could watch or just click through it online and read through the information there. College information, this is usually required by the college to put college information into our class, and this is for things like if you have a disability, maybe you're stressing out about things, and maybe you need to talk to a mental health counselor, and it goes on and talk about different policies and things of that nature, including tutoring information, so on and so forth. So it's not necessarily about the class, this is about the college as a whole. And so in case you maybe have some questions, you can always reach out to me or go through here and see what we have available. Now, a couple other things is, of course, textbook, tech support, program goals. This, generally, students don't care about this, and I'll be honest with you, but this is for people in the upper echelon at the higher Maryland educational system level, where they want to know what our program goals are and the outcomes. What are you going to gain from our program or this class? So if you're interested, there they are. But again, some of the things that they require that we put in our Brightspace class. Now, where you will spend 95% of your time, if you do the rest of this, is right here under course modules. So generally, once you walk through the front door, clicking on content, jump down to course modules, and you will see that these are broken down into the 5 weeks. So these are submodules of course modules. And if you click on just course modules, you can scroll through each week. And this is the 1,000-foot view I was talking about. Here is everything for the course. But if you want to drill down to say week 1, well, we get a little bit deeper even into that. Modules within modules. Now we are in week 1, and you would click, say, chapter 1, the impact of digital technology, because this week's going to cover 3 chapters. Chapter 2, the web, and chapter 3, the hardware. And last but not least, there's a whole little module, sub-module, if you will, all about the exam. So let's just click, for example, walk you through chapter 1. So you're there when you actually click on, it'll say concept chapter 1, and you go down through. And when you see these little icons, I developed these, so these are visual cues, and it will tell you, oh, this is an assignment. This is where the money comes from, if you will. when you're taking a class, the currency of the realm is your grade, and therefore the assignments related to that. So there's a PowerPoint that basically talks about what the entire chapter is in the book. This is actually a link to the textbook that I highly recommend that you look at, because when you first click on it, when you registered for this class, that's the important thing to note, that your book was paid for by the fee for the class. So in other words, that's already been taken care of and should have been. So this is an electronic version of the textbook that is available to you. Now, the first time that you click on it, you will probably have to sign up an account. They're going to ask for probably username, password. So do that. That's a one and done. And after that, you'll click on these things, and here comes the textbook and give you some information there. And this, I actually have the printed version sitting over on my bookshelf, and this looks identical exactly to it. The thing is about this electronic version is you can have it read to you as other, above and beyond what a printed textbook can do. Very highly interactive and multimedia based, which is nice. And so this is access to the text. Once you do that, it will not ask you to sign up for anything. Henceforth, boom, it'll just link right into the information. So that's the textbook. Now you come back. These are called breadcrumbs. This is a term that they used in the web for years. So the nice thing about Brightspace is the flexibility to navigate around Brightspace. The drawback to this is the flexibility to navigate around Brightspace. It can get a little confusing, as with many options to get from point A to point B. That being said, I usually jump back and forth using these little arrows or the breadcrumbs. So for example, I'll just simply go back and click on concepts to chapter 1, and you'll see that once it loads back in, you're right back where you started from. So PowerPoint, textbook, and then from here, the assignments this week were pretty quick and painless. As you would watch a 2-minute video on what virtual reality is and what AI is, so on and so forth. Answer the questions. There's usually just one. The nice thing about it is if you get that question wrong, you can go back and do it again. And if it's a multiple choice or just is it true and false, I think if you got it wrong and you selected false, go back and select true. Get that extra 100 points in there. And there you go. Where you'll spend a lot of your time this week, this is an interesting one called critical thinking. It will walk you through a scenario by which, for example, you might be using technology in your daily life, and it's going to ask you, what would you do? And walks you through that, and ultimately, and hopefully, you'll get 100 points. Again, you can always go back and redo it if you don't. Some students are going, oh, I'm good with the 75%. That's totally up to you. But you can redo this, I think, up to 50 times if you wish. The place where you spend most of your time, and this is deliberate, my friends, is because this helps to prepare you for the exam, is that you do a skills training module. And what this is let me click on one of these. It will launch into a series of videos. It's probably like 15, 20, 21 videos, each one about approximately 1 to 2 minutes. So you can anticipate to spend about 40 minutes on this particular part of the week for this project. And so I'm going to go ahead and start this so you can see what it looks like. And you can see this first video is 1 minute and 10 seconds long, task of 1 of 22. This is really nice because you can click and actually see what these little videos will be about. How to use embedded computers in motor vehicles, how we use internet in the daily life, use of cell phones or in businesses, perform daily living tasks online. This is for the first module for this week in dealing with the fact that digital technology is everywhere in our daily lives. And you watch through those, and You get an extra 100 points for that, and it also is preparing you for what you will see on the exam. I'm not going to play the video for you. You just click this little blue button, and then when the time comes, you just answer a question, and you move on to the next. So that is working with a little training for this particular module. I was just telling you I didn't do any of that. Now, you can click through these arrows, or you can go back. This one, there was the critical thinking module, I think, right before this one. And so you'll see that that indeed is what it's loading into. And there is a start, and go from there. I'm just going to go back to chapter 1, submodule, if you will. So that would be part 1 of 3 for week 1. You want to get into then the next part. In other words, this is all the same week, mind you. Again, 3.5 weeks of work in one. And so again, this is a PowerPoint. This is take you to the book, a couple videos to watch, another critical thinking challenge, and then a skills training module. Then you would go into, let's say, oh, it's now Thursday or Friday. Now you're back into module 3 for the first week, and this is about hardware, and learn a little bit about hardware, another critical thinking challenge, and then another skills training. You're pretty much done for the week. The last thing, obviously, to do is take the exam. Now, I wanted to show you this because this is important. There are 2 parts to the concepts exam that I have available. The Computer Concepts Exam 1 Practice Exam. This is the exam in essence, but it's not graded. You can take this up to 50 times. It is to help you prepare for the actual exam. The actual exam is a one and done. You take it and that's it. But this you can take up to 50 times. And so let's say, for example, you take the first exam, the practice, and you get a 48 out of 100. Not the greatest, not to panic, doesn't count. It will give you a score, but I do not count that as the part of the final grade. But then you can go back and figure out what maybe you did wrong. You can take it again, and then maybe the next time you get an 85. And you think, I think I can do better, and you can take it again for the 3rd time. And let's say you get nailed it with 100%. It's like, I'm ready for this exam. So somewhere about, Sunday or whenever you feel comfortable, you come down and click on the actual exam itself. It will launch and walk you through a series of questions. I think in this particular exam, there are 50 questions. Each one is worth 2 points apiece, and therefore 2 times 50, 100%. Simple math. So with that, this is what you would end up doing for the last part of the first week in this module. So really this week is broken up into 4 little submodules, chapters 1, 2, and 3. If you were to move ahead into week 2, students always ask, can I work ahead? I've seen students knock this 5-week course out by week 3. I don't think they sleep. And I don't mean to be silly about that. That's incredible. And generally do pretty good. I just say, slow down, take your time. So week 2, you can see it's broken down into the same way. If you were to click on chapter 4, PowerPoint, the link to the textbook itself, a couple videos, a critical challenge, and then the skills training. Again, the skills training, it basically enhances what you learned in the chapter. And some students will just, I'm not going to read, I'm going to go to the PowerPoint. I'm not naive. They'll just look through the PowerPoint, and the skills training is to bring your skills up to that level so you know probably better the content for that particular chapter. And then we have chapter 5, which is about software and apps. And then safety and security. Cybersecurity is very important, so this is a great chapter. And then we get into concept exam number 2, which also has a practice exam. That does not count toward your grade, but you can take it up to 50 times. Prepare yourself for the actual exam, which is 1 time. So I'm sorry if you take it and you get 46 on the concept exam, actual exam, as it's referred to. Well, that's your grade. So that is the concept portion of the course. 2 weeks devoted to all of the concepts related to computer literacy for this course. In the next video, I will show you how the hands-on portion of the course will work in terms of working with software applications. In this case, the Microsoft Office Suite, where we'll be working with Word, we'll be exposed to Excel, PowerPoint, and an access training to wet your whistle of what access is and how it is used. But there will be no exams for that. There will be no projects for that, just the training. And so I'll see you in the next video.